What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is the August edition of Ask the Phoenix. You guys, as I said in my thank you video, obviously check out the thank you video if you haven't seen it yet. This concept, this Ask the Phoenix, this monthly thing that I'm doing, has quickly become the most famous thing I do on this channel. You guys have supported it, and you guys have latched onto it, and that is fantastic, and it's a lot of fun. Lets you guys talk to me, lets me talk to you. For those of you that have never seen Ask the Phoenix before, if you want your questions answered in the next Q&A, put them in the comment section of this video. Now, people may or may not notice that in this video that I'm taking the questions from, the comments that were made on that video that were not questions have been deleted. Now, that is not meant in any disrespectful way. That is just meant so that I can pull up that video and get my questions, and there's not other stuff in between that isn't questions. So if anybody was offended by that, then I'm sorry, but that's why I've done it, which is why I say the only things that are really going to go in the box of this Q&A is questions for the next Q&A. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, and anybody that's, like I say, watching for the first time, questions down there, they'll be answered next month. Yeah, I thought I had something else to ramble on about there, but apparently I don't, so we're going to get into our first question if my screen stops resetting itself. Would you rather see John Cena leaving Night of Champions on a stretcher, bloodied and broken, or see him tap out to the Kimura? I'm going to say tapping out to the Kimura for a couple of reasons. We've already seen John Cena defeated by the F5 at SummerSlam. So we know that that can happen. The only other major gun in Brock Lesnar's arsenal is the Kimura. Now, in addition to that, if he leaves bloody, broken, whatever, we get a situation kind of like Jack Swagger at SummerSlam, where it's like, he wouldn't give up. Look at him. Look how great he is. He wouldn't give up. He fought until he had nothing left. And it would be a hero's loss for Cena, and I don't really want to see that. Whereas if we see him tap out to the Kimura, then Mr. Never Give Up gave up. And I want that. I want that a lot. And it's not just because I don't like Cena, which all of you loyals to this channel know that I can't stand Cena. But I want that because for Brock Lesnar to be as big as WWE is making him, and be as big realistically as he actually is, getting the golden boy, the never give up, the staunch last man standing golden boy of the WWE to verbally or voluntarily quit is the quintessential victory in WWE right now that nobody else has. There are people that have beaten John Cena. Nobody's ever done it as cleanly as at SummerSlam. Nobody has ever done it as convincingly as it would be if you could actually make him tap out. T-Rex goes on to ask, do you think WWE has backed themselves into a corner by giving the championship to Lesnar, considering how dominant he looked versus Cena at SummerSlam? Not just through Cena, but yes. The combination of Brock Lesnar beating the Streak and Brock Lesnar convincingly beating the Golden Boy, which nobody else is allowed to do, leaves him really with no feasible, believable opponents. He beat the guy in John Cena that we didn't believe anybody could beat. So now we look at guys like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, if he was still there, Randy Orton, whatever. We put them up against John Cena. It's like, okay, it could be an interesting match, but Cena's going to win. We know that. Now, the guy that beat that is going to have no equal. I've heard they're going to bring back Batista to fight him. I don't care. What's really, really going to make me literally vomit is if Brock Lesnar gets defeated by Daniel Bryan. And that's not because I don't respect Daniel Bryan. It really, really isn't. But look at Daniel Bryan, look at Brock Lesnar. And I know, I am the one that usually stands up against comments like that. Hey, there's no reason CM Punk can't beat John Cena. There's no reason, you know, somebody like an Austin Aries can't beat Bobby Lashley. But look at Daniel Bryan and look at Brock Lesnar. Look at what Daniel Bryan has done versus Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan, yes, he had his big victorious moment at WrestleMania that all started at last year's SummerSlam, where John Cena proved once again that he is the most charitable person in the world and gifted Daniel Bryan a title shot. That was the genesis of his big push to his ridiculously overbooked WrestleMania moment. Let's just keep that in mind. Brock Lesnar destroys everything. Everything. So, yeah, have they booked themselves into a corner? Absolutely. How would you rank the overall presentation of the Ambrose-Rollins feud? It's as dirty as it needs to be, and it's as simple as it needs to be. We used to be a group. You turned on us. Roman Reigns went and fucked off and did his own thing. You and I are going to destroy each other until there's one left. Now, Rollins has the briefcase, which has come into play a couple times, but really, these are two guys that are just going to destroy each other. I don't think you ever need to, at this point anyway, I don't think you ever need to put anything on the line between these two. I mean, obviously, people are saying at Night of Champions they're going to fight for the briefcase or yada, 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 yada down the line. I don't think there needs to be any prize for these two. I think this is one of those situations where whether you're backing Ambrose or whether you're backing Rollins, you're more so cheering for the match itself. And that is special, and that's something we have with Rollins and Ambrose now that Reigns, the third wheel of the Shield, is supposedly out of the way. It's fantastic. It's one of the main things that has me watching wrestling right now, and that's I'm not saying that as an exaggeration. I'm not saying that as Wyatt is fantastic. Jericho's fantastic. You know, there's other great things in wrestling right now. The best feud right now is Rollins and Ambrose by far, by a country mile, as the saying goes. How likely is it that WWE will defy logic and book Cena to go over at Night of Champions, and how logic will it be for this to happen? It's Cena. This idea that we've come up with, this fantasy that somebody's actually come along and beaten Cena, lasting him only a month, I could see it happening. When he was putting over Bray Wyatt, he lost one match, and it was sandwiched in the middle behind a squash and a squash. I really hope it doesn't happen, because then Brock Lesnar, who's been built up fantastically, and thanks to all the work of Paul Heyman and whatnot, will all be for naught, won't it? The guy that beat The Undertaker, the guy that beat John Cena, whoever does beat him has to be somebody new, has to be somebody that's going to be shot off into the stratosphere for the next 12 years. Not give John Cena another 12 years, because that's, excuse me, that's just not something we want to see. What do you think the WWE logo change will signify? First and foremost, I think the change of the logo is WWE saying, okay, hey guys, look at us, we did something. Stephanie McMahon, when they presented the belt to Brock Lesnar, said that this is a new symbol to symbolize a new era in wrestling, but never really explained how it symbolized it or what that new change is. Nothing's actually changed. Nothing's actually, like, there wasn't any grandiose shift in the paradigm of WWE. It's going to symbolize this new era of wrestling that we're going into. What are we going into? What has changed? They didn't signify that whatsoever. On a marketing side of things, I think associating the WWE logo with the WWE Network logo with the WWE Championship and making them all the same, somewhere along the way ties into a subconscious pushing of the network. I'm surprised that the belt just doesn't have like $9.99 logos on both sides of it, but that's a bad joke for another time, isn't it? As far as the belt, I think that was in response to what I've been saying, not that I'm saying I changed the WWE, but what I've been saying and a lot of other people have been saying, is that we have one champion. There doesn't need to be two belts. Now, I am totally in favor of what a lot of other people have been saying. If we're going to have one belt, have the belt that looks like a championship, the, you know, quote-unquote big gold belt, be the world championship. I would have loved that entirely. Take that, modify it slightly, put the new WWE logo in the top, like, little corner piece there that it has, and have a championship-looking championship. I get that. But as I've said in other videos, even though it's a bad belt design in my opinion, I think the theory behind it, the theory of having one champion, one belt, one best in the world, not to quote CM Punk, is very, very important, because as long as you had two belts, you had the idea in everybody's mind that they could be separated again. And as soon as we have two champions, both people calling themselves the best, no one's really the best, neither belt means anything, and we spiral back to where we were a couple of years ago. So I think they did it to get everybody's attention. I think there are corporate motivations behind it, and I think it was to have one singular, undisputed, unquestioned, this is the symbol of championship, this is our champion. There's a lot of things that go into it. Does it change anything, really? No. It's the same WWE product with a new coat of paint. And, you know, the SmackDown announce table will have a different logo on it. The turnbuckles will have a new logo on it. The WWE stage has a new, that new big lit up WWE thing on it. Other than that, it's a whole lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. That's all I'm going to say about that. Since we know that Cena will at the very least match Ric Flair's record, how would you book it and who should he face? I know it's early, how would you book the road to WrestleMania? Oh, that's two separate questions. Shit. If Cena does beat if and when John Cena does beat Ric Flair's record, I don't think the booking's going to matter. I think it's just going to be that tick over on the odometer, that magical 16, where we can say from now on, Cena has beaten Flair's record. Everybody's just going to let out that collective groan, that collective, well, we saw this one coming. And that's going to be the feeling walking away from it. I don't care. You could build the best story around this possible. You could bring back CM Punk and put the belt on him and have Cena take the belt off him. You could have the screwiest finish in the world. You could have him turn heel on his opponent and, you know, WWE thinking that his massive heel turn will be like a Hogan NWO heel turn, which it just won't. We know it just won't. But at the end of the day, as soon as, like I say, as soon as John Cena ticks over that WWE odometer and matches Ric Flair, people are just going to groan, and they're just going to say, well, we saw that one coming. I know it's early, but how would you book the road to WrestleMania 31? I know a lot of people don't like it, but I'm still sticking with my Lesnar versus Reigns idea. I think if we cut the Ambrose-Rollins feud short now, let them go in their own directions, let them both achieve different things in the mid-card, and have them be the ones to unify the US and IC championships at WrestleMania, I think that could be a special thing. I think by that point the Ascension will be in WWE, so maybe we get the Ascension versus the Usos. One more, have a dual retirement match, the last match for Mark Henry and Big Show be against each other in the last great big man match. Could be a thing. I'm going to pull for the match that I wanted to see last year, which is Paige versus AJ versus a returning Lita for the women's championship. Lots and lots of things. I don't know where WWE is going to be at that point, so there's only so much I can speculate. Would you agree that WWE has been booking the Survivor Series 10-man... What? Would you agree when I say the way WWE has been booking the Survivor Series 10-man elimination tag in the past few years has made the pay-per-view lost its significance? Now, I'm not going to be popular for this one, because I know a lot of people think that Survivor Series has gone down the shitter in the past little while. And the reason is they make the 10-man match the main event, which is fine, and it's Survivor Series is... The Survivor Series matches, sorry, are what you watch Survivor Series for, but the main event of any pay-per-view, no matter what it is, should have a significance moving forward. The main event of the Royal Rumble is not a title match, it's the Royal Rumble match, but the winner of that match goes on to do something. The winner of a Survivor Series match, albeit it could be the greatest 10-man match ever, doesn't necessarily go on and do something the next month or the next 2 months or whatever. I liked it back in the day when the Survivor Series matches were splattered sort of throughout the pay-per-view, and then you still had either your big main rivalry or your title match at the end. Now, that being said, I liked them more when they were 4-on-4. I liked them more when it was, a lot of them were just two tag teams versus two tag teams. You could have, I'm not thinking of them right off the top of my head, but you could have Edge, Christian, and the Hardys versus the APA and the Dudleys, for example. I didn't like the past few years. I don't remember what year it was, so somebody that's good with dates, I'm sure, will correct me down in the box below. But there was a year where there was one dream team where it was DX, the Hardy Boys, and an emerging CM Punk were one team. And it was just, you looked at the other team, and the match itself was thrown together. But you looked at the other team, and it's like, look at who is on this team. Don't even bother showing up. And they did. They beat them in a clean sweep. I remember that because I loved everybody on that team. But I believe that was the year that just randomly on Raw, they just kept on announcing SummerSlam matches. I mean, at least in the past, you take two tag teams that have a rivalry, another two tag teams that have a rivalry, there, you've got a 4-on-4 match. Or something like that. Or the years where, like, okay, this guy has a problem, this guy has a problem, okay, we're both going to build teams. It's just, when you get the 5-on-5 match nowadays, it's just like, they take the top 5 feuds in the company and throw them into one match, which not only is a clusterfuck, but it leaves you nothing for the rest of the card. So as much as I like the Survivor Series matches, I like the Survivor Series matches on the card with less significance so you can have fun with them so that the pay-per-view still has structure. That was a long ramble of an answer, and I don't even know if I quite answered the question as you posed it, but that's my thoughts on the Survivor Series currently. I was at Survivor Series last year with the amazing STEPHIE Sunshine. Shit main event, not gonna lie. The rest of it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Survivor Series, I wish it had more significance. I wish it was seen as something more important like it used to be than it is now. It's the same as King of the Ring. Nobody gives King of the Ring any credence either, but I really wish King of the Ring would come back. That's another story for another day. Thoughts on Triple H turning away Kurt Angle? I've only read this on the dirt sheets. I don't care what the story is. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what the terms are. I don't care what the disagreements are. I don't care what the reason that they couldn't work something out is. Any wrestling company that knows anything about wrestling that turns down the possibility of having the wrestling machine known as Kurt Angle on their product, on the television screen, drawing eyeballs to their product is a fucking moron. Moving on. Which evil would you prefer? Cena beating Ric Flair's record or Ambrose being reduced to jobber status for the rest of his career? Cena beating Ric Flair's record. That's not even a question, and I'll tell you why. Ambrose being reduced to a jobber for the rest of his career is a great disservice to the WWE going forward. Cena beating Ric Flair's record, yes, is immensely disrespectful and puts Cena in a stratosphere that he definitely does not deserve to be in, as far as I'm concerned anyway. I know a lot of people disagree with me. He makes a lot of money, he sells a lot of merch, he's just as good as Ric Flair. No, he's not. But it's one of those things like the streak, and people are not going to like this, I know, and I'm saying that a lot in this video, so sorry to everybody that I'm offending. Cena beating Ric Flair's record is like Lesnar beating the streak. It hurts, and it sucks, but it's like a band-aid. You rip it off real fast, and as much as it sucks, it's done, it's over with. The idea of deciding now that Ambrose is going to be a jobber for life cripples the possibilities and the potential for a million amazing things going forward. Cena beating Ric Flair's record kind of disrespects the past. Lesnar beating the streak immensely disrespects the past, but it's in the past. And I would much rather disrespect the past than cripple the future. So, there's my... And you asked, again, the whole broken Cena versus the Kimura question again, so I'm not going to answer it again. Rewind it if you didn't get my answer the first time. That's all from T-Rex 1028. The next one is Matt Jericho. It says, I spaz. A-Y-E, I spaz? Oi spaz? Pirates? I don't know. Do you have the WWE Network, and if not, will you buy it? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to turn my camera because it'll probably fall down. If you look over there, though, brand new cable box. The cable box I had hooked up to this TV, sorry about that, guys, was ancient. It was about 10 years old. It was not a PVR, it was not a high def, it was not anything you could TiVo on, it was nothing. It pretty much basically got me the pay-per-view channel option to order shows and whatnot. Now, I have a next box, and now, yes indeed, I do have the WWE Network, and it's fantastic, and it's in all its high-def vividness. Oh, yes. The on-demand for Canada is not very good right now. The on-demand channel basically has 10 ECW pay-per-views, about 9 WCW pay-per-views, and about 7 WWE pay-per-views that are all past SummerSlams, including the one from a week ago. It's great. I will watch it going forward. Obviously, it's cool to watch things like NXT and Main Event and stuff like that on TV rather than on my computer. For anybody that doesn't have the network, I will tell you what I've been doing for the past couple of years for shows that I've missed. Go to Bollyrules, BOLLYRULEZ.net. You will see any programs that you have missed that week. They are broken up into YouTube-sized videos that are like 30 minutes each, so Raw is 6 parts, Main Event is 4 parts, etc. But if you miss your shows, and you don't have the network, and you don't have on-demand or anything like that, go to bollyrules.net. You will find everything that you've missed. If you want to wait till the next day, they do post pay-per-views as well, but there's many, many, many chunks to watch. That's it for Matt Jarrett Show. The Zohan. Oh my dear Lord, how many questions did you ask? How would you convince CM Punk to come back? Try to predict the type of opponent, the type of storyline that he wouldn't be able to refuse, because obviously the money factor isn't there. It would literally be a point of piquing his interest. Thoughts of the Billionaire Ted segments? They were funny, the few that I've seen. I haven't seen them all, obviously. I'm going to go back, and I'm also watching the Monday Night Wars series right now on the network. I'm going to sneeze. So I'm sure I'm going to see more of those. Favorite movie that The Rock has starred in? I liked Walking Tall. I liked his participation in the Fast and the Furious series as well. Best Stone Cold Steve Austin moment? First time he stunned Vince. Worst year in WWE history? I don't know. Dumbest gimmick in WCW history? Well, one of the dumbest, and I've just recently rewatched it, was Shawn Stasiak versus Bam Bam Bigelow in a tattoo match. Yeah. Thoughts on Vince Russo? As much as I've read dirt sheets and heard other people complain about him, I don't know enough concrete information about Vince Russo to have an opinion. And that wouldn't be fair of me, would it? Is The Rock versus John Cena from WrestleMania 28-29 the top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time? Absolutely not. Worst WrestleMania? I don't know. Maybe WrestleMania 28? Why is David Otunga in the Now, Then, and Forever video? I don't know, because they don't pay attention to their editing very well. Thoughts on the War Games? It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting precursor to what we now know as the Elimination Chamber. Now that we've had the Elimination Chamber, I don't know if a War Games pay-per-view would ever have the impact that it once did, but it was an interesting concept for its time. Best one-off pay-per-view? I don't know. Invasion, because it only happened once, and thank God for that. Why are your sinuses always fucked? I don't know. I have issues with my sinuses internally. Plus, I'm allergic to a bunch of stuff, including dust. And when you consider that I'm down here in a basement, then yeah, contributing factors do contribute. Why are your videos always filmed at ridiculous o'clock in the morning? Because I live in a house with 5 other people. We're all coming and going all points of the day. My siblings and their friends do a lot of jamming. They do a lot of death metal related stuff, so I could do them in the evening, but you would hear a lot of noise from literally the next room, and it would be not very good, because I can't yell or talk as loud as they play and scream and whatnot. Who goes into the Hall of Fame first, Paul Heyman or Eric Bischoff? Paul Heyman has contributed more to the WWE. It's going to be Paul Heyman by a long shot. Eric Bischoff, and this has been said more in other videos, I think Eric Bischoff was only brought into the WWE to be made a joke of, as one last little bit of WCW revenge, if you want my honest opinion. Thoughts on the Are You Serious videos hosted by Josh Matthews and Road Dogg Jesse James? I think they're fantastic, because WWE, wrestling in general, and I know they target WCW a lot, but WWE in general has done some ridiculously stupid things. So I think it's kind of cool for them to look back at what they've done and kind of laugh at themselves, because they know we had to be. We had to be laughing at them for that. What is your opinion of Goldberg's streak ending by the Starrcade after being tased? It was dumb. It was dumb. But at the same time, Goldberg was such a juggernaut that ending his streak was like ending The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. It wouldn't have mattered how they ended it. Nobody would have been happy. So, if you can't come up with something that'll make people happy, come up with something that will purposely make them unhappy, and make the most of that heat, and use it. Use it to build up these tremendous heels that we already know are completely hated, and put even more heat on them. Same thing with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a heat magnet. He beat the streak. Now he's even more of a heat magnet. Now, whoever he faces and whoever comes along and eventually defeats him is going to be made. Made. Thoughts on Val Venus? Interesting when he was in like the stripper character, whatever. The times where he wasn't so much in that, when he was the Chief Morley, when he was in the Right to Censor, when he was being Val Venus, but he was being more serious and more aggressive in the ring. He really could get it done in the ring more than most people gave him credit for, which is kind of unfortunate. Will WWE ever go back to calling itself WWF? No, because at this point they are so whipped and so concerned with their public opinion and whatever. If they ever thought that they were going to be seen as somebody that was taking something away from a charitable organization, they would run 10 miles in the other direction, because they have become quite pussy-whipped in that regard. When CM Punk was wrestling, was he the best in the world? He's one of, for sure. When CM Punk came in and really started hitting his stride, I said that he was the next generation of Shawn Michaels. Not that they were similar, not that they were similar in the ring, but that Shawn Michaels was the total package wrestler. He was the guy. If you ask me who was the best overall performer in the WWE in his time, Shawn Michaels, for sure. Charismatic, held the crowd in the palm of his hand, could go face, could go heel, could wrestle, could brawl, could high fly to a certain extent, and all that sort of thing. And that total package element is in CM Punk. And I think CM Punk knows it. And people think, oh, he's cocky or whatever. No, he knows what he brings to the table in wrestling. And as he should, as far as I'm concerned. I have lost my place. Excuse me, guys. You know, I'm totally professional. There we go. Where does Chris Jericho rank in the greatest of all time? Chris Jericho, if nothing else, makes stars. Because of that, he loses a lot. So as far as his own accomplishments, which are huge, he's going to be known more for rivalries where he's lost, because that's what he's been good at. He's been good at making other stars. So while I'm sure he should be maybe top 10, I don't think he'll be recognized as that, which is very unfortunate. What was your reaction when Mankind got thrown off the Hell in the Cell at King of the Ring 1998, and when he got back up and finished the match? When he got back up and finished the match, I thought he was fucking nuts. When we find out after the fact that the thing that we saw in his nose that we thought was a piece of table was actually his tooth, it was great. Like, it was one of those things where you start questioning, it's like, okay, was that too far? Did he decide to do that? Should he not have done that? Anything that makes you uncomfortable as a wrestling fan has done its job. Because it's like comedy. Comedy is designed to make you uncomfortable. A really gory movie is designed to make you uncomfortable. Certain things in wrestling are designed to make you uncomfortable, and it is what it is. Best WWE title victory of the Attitude Era. Probably Austin. Probably Austin beating Shawn Michaels. I've said this before. I wasn't an Austin fan when he was ascending to his place in wrestling history, because I was a big Shawn Michaels fan. I was a big Shawn Michaels fan right up to and right past WrestleMania 14. When Austin beat Michaels at WrestleMania 14, I was pissed. I was really pissed. I understood even back then why Mike Tyson was involved, but I didn't think it was necessary. I didn't obviously at the time know all about Shawn Michaels' injuries and his health and all that sort of thing. All I knew was in this rivalry, I was one of the few people that was still cheering for Shawn Michaels, and I was pissed. But looking back on it, honestly, one of the biggest title wins ever. One of the most eruptuous responses to somebody winning a title ever. People are comparing Daniel Bryan's response at WrestleMania to that, which is ridiculous. I've said I'm not going to say retarded, but it is ridiculous, because yeah, Daniel Bryan got a louder reaction because he was in front of what, a crowd that was at least twice as big, and the volume and such that comes with that. But no, as far as a crowd response, people comparing Daniel Bryan to Austin is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Thoughts on the Smoking Skull belt? The Smoking Skull belt was sort of that first really custom title. The ones that came after it, we had the Brahma Bull belt, we had the spinning Rated R belt, we had Miz turning the W upside down on the spinner belt and making it the Miz belt. The ones that came after it were kind of lame. The Smoking Skull belt was the original of that concept. Even, you guys know I'm a big Jeff Hardy mark. Even when Jeff Hardy made the second Enigma belt, not the purple one that he had when he was a heel, but the black and silver Enigma belt that he made when he was a face, which looks fucking badass. I don't care what anybody says. That belt as a custom belt was absolutely badass. You cannot beat the original, and the original is the Smoking Skull belt. Thoughts on Kurt Angle and the ECW crucifixion angle. Would he have stayed if the angle hadn't happened? I wasn't watching ECW at the time. I only know the story. The story being that Sandman was crucified on a barbed wire cross, and it made Kurt Angle leave the show. Now, was he leaving because he didn't want to watch the show anymore, or was he leaving because he thought his leaving was going to make a statement that, you know, only Kurt Angle is going to know the reasons behind what he did? I don't know. I don't know what it was supposed to prove. I don't know what it was supposed to do. I don't know what the angle was leading up to him being on the cross, so I really can't speak to it too much, but ECW was what it was. They had some fantastic technical wrestling. It wasn't all like blood, guts, and gore, but the shock value of stuff like that was what they were in for, and if Kurt Angle didn't know that at the time, then, you know, buyer beware. Did you enjoy the Evolution reboot from this year? Yes, and the reason I enjoyed it was because when Evolution first formed, it was kind of like this, one of these things is not like the other. I know Ric Flair was supposed to be like a mentor to the rest of the group, but the rest of the group looked like three powerhouses that were going to go and kill somebody. And when Ric Flair was thrown into the mix, it was like, why would you ever tag in Ric Flair? Ric Flair's going to flop, and he looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Evolution, when it originally formed, looked like it was Batista, Orton, and Triple H, with Ric Flair kind of behind them being a mouthpiece and occasionally wrestling. This time around, with it being just the three of them, made a lot more sense, in my opinion. Triple H sending his cronies out to do his dirty work, trying to desperately get the title off of Bryan, etc. If we had had the Evolution triple threat match at WrestleMania, I think it could have been something special. Daniel Bryan had to come and fuck that all up. Thoughts of the Elimination Chamber match in pay-per-view. The Elimination Chamber match is fun. The Elimination Chamber match, it's one of those things. It has to be for something, or else there's no reason to have it. The Royal Rumble, the #1 contender, goes on to do something. The Elimination Chamber, either you're fighting for a championship or you're fighting for a #1 contendership. The idea of having an Elimination Chamber match just for the hell of it, why? Suspending your disbelief. Why would 6 guys go into that type of structure and endure the pain that they endure when they're in there if they're not fighting for something? It's the same as having a ladder match, but having a ladder match not be for a title. I recently watched SummerSlam, where it was Ray and Eddie, R.I.P. and all that sort of thing, when they're fighting for the custody papers of Dominic. When you're going up, now it's more apropos because we have the Money in the Bank contract, which is, again, going up for something that's going to get you a title. When it's just going for something random to symbolize that you've won, it looks really strange, doesn't it? When the guys in TNA do the Ultimate X match, and it's not for the title, it's just they're going for the X, it looks strange. It's one of those matches, and Elimination Chamber is the same. It provides a lot of interesting opportunities for spots, high spots off the pods, and eventually we're going to see somebody fight on top of the chamber. Like, that's going to be the next thing that happens. Doing all the spots on the outside of that little, like, those 4 little half-moon sections of metal that are around the ring, that are level with the ring as opposed to falling out and falling to the floor level, creates another interesting dynamic. As a whole, it's a fun match. If we didn't have it, I wouldn't complain. If we had more of them, I wouldn't complain either. Dream Tag Team match. Obviously, I'm watching TNA right now. I'm watching all the shows that they've done in New York. All the stuff that the Dudleys and the Hardys are doing has been a lot of fun. It's nostalgia, yes. They're different than they used to be, yes. But they're still a lot of fun. And they're giving the Wolves a ridiculous rub. In WWE right now, I really want to see the Ascension versus the Wyatts. Way too many questions. Dude, how do you write me so many questions? Thoughts on the People's Elbow. Was it too fake? The People's Elbow wasn't a finishing move. The People's Elbow, 9 times out of 10, came after the Rock Bottom. The Rock Bottom was what took you out. The People's Elbow was kind of a, fuck you, you're out, I've destroyed you so much that I can do this funny thing on top of you and make the people cheer. So, much like the middle finger before the stunner wasn't what inflicted the pain, the People's Elbow was kind of an insult, honestly, in all fairness. And for that purpose, and for the cocky character that is The Rock, it worked 100%. So no, I don't think it was per se fake. Thoughts on the internet and its impact on wrestling? Does it help or hurt? The internet can be our worst enemy or our best friend. We can find out what's going on. We can read spoilers if we want. We can get creative conversations going. But on the other side of the coin, you've got shows that are taped, shows that get spoiled, shows that nobody watches because they already know the results, and companies suffer for it. Raw is popular, SmackDown's not. Not that it's not because of a lot of other reasons as well, but that's it is what it is. Like, if pay-per-views were taped and then we saw them the next day on TV, half the people we know wouldn't buy them. Well, people like Alex and Preston don't buy them anyway, but nobody would buy them if we already knew it was happening. So that element doesn't help at all. What is the worst main event match ever in the main companies? WWF, WCW, ECW, TNA. WWE, WWF. Anything with a boss. I mean, especially anything with a boss when it wasn't done properly. Laurinaitis versus Cena was pretty horrible. ECW was the... I don't remember what it was called, but the match where David Arquette became the champion. ECW... I didn't watch enough to properly answer that one. And TNA... My opinion of TNA in general isn't very good right now, so picking out one bad match is kind of hard. The fact that we had all the ECW legends in there for a 4-on-4 match, and they threw in EC3 was pretty bad, and stuff involving Spud is really bad. Thoughts on the guaranteed money in WCW? Again, I've only heard rumors, so I really can't answer that one. Best year in SmackDown history. The best years were the years where Paul Heyman were in charge, and you had the SmackDown 6, which was Eddie, Chavo, Ray, Edge, Angle, and Benoit. Because you could take any or all of those 6 guys, put any of them against each other, any 2 of them against 2 others, put all 6 of them in a match, and they were just it was just a 6-man rotating team of awesomeness that drove the company for quite a while. And we have Paul Heyman to thank for that. And Paul Heyman was, again, the mastermind behind Brock Lesnar. But at the same time, you have these 6 guys that were all feeding popularity off of each other, which was absolutely fantastic. A lot of them were known names from WCW. You had Edge that was coming up. You had Angle that had come over and was sort of transferring his skills, for lack of a better term, and all of them needed something, and the 6 of them found each other under the tutelage and under the creative eyeballs of Paul Heyman, which is fantastic. So don't ask me what years those were, because you guys know I'm not good with dates and shit, and I'm sorry. But during the Paul Heyman SmackDown era, SmackDown 6. There you go. Favorite submission right now is the PTO, because there's no part of you that is not affected by it, and it just looks like it would break you in half. What would you have done to make the brand split work? Try harder to make them look like 2 separate shows. I mean, you had the separate writing teams, you had the separate nights, you had the separate shows, separate rosters, and whatever, but there was still crossover. As soon as they split up the shows, WWE couldn't help itself but have the cross-branded matches, which only served to remind you that that it was in fact still one company trying to do 2 things at once. When you had the Undisputed Champion and the Tag Team Champions defending their titles on both shows, before there was the Divas title, back in the day, when the Women's Champion was defending their title on both shows, they crossed over and they basically laced these 2 pieces that they were trying to pull apart, and those few laces zigzagged and brought it right back together, reminding you that it was one company. When they did the brand separate pay-per-views, that killed it. It really did, because it showed how weakly each brand stood on their own. You could have a good Raw, you could have a good SmackDown, but when half the roster tries to put out a stellar pay-per-view, it really put their weaknesses under a magnifying glass. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have any good Raw pay-per-views, any good SmackDown pay-per-views. Most of them were Raw, let's be real. But if you had Raw pay-per-views and combined pay-per-views, it would really underline once again that SmackDown was a really weak show. And that was another thing as well, was when they did the brand split, but they still did some combined pay-per-views. Now, I'm not suggesting that one brand would have the Royal Rumble, the other would have WrestleMania. I'm not suggesting that whatsoever in the slightest. But the fact that they couldn't, and the fact that they could never really divorce themselves from each other than, you know, guys staring at each other wearing red and blue shirts and whatnot, it also didn't help the situation. When you were trying to build a rivalry on a show, say, I don't know, say Guerrero and Benoit were going at it on SmackDown, but all of a sudden there's a big 10-on-10 match, SmackDown versus Raw, and these two guys are on the same team fighting for their blue t-shirts. It didn't make any sense. There were a lot of problems, and nobody really wanted to see it happen. Why did nobody tell Roddy Piper that wearing blackface was a bad idea? Piper's a nut job, and he's basically going to do whatever he wants. I mean, the guy's been, if you believe stories, he's been mugged and stabbed and had the crap kicked out of him and survived a bunch of hellacious shit. So if you're some guy working in the WWE censorship office, which probably means you probably never leave your office, you're not going to go and tell Piper what to do. What's your best Brock Lesnar moment? Obviously when he came back in F5, John Cena, because I'm like that. Thoughts on the Rock and Austin duet in 2001? It was funny. It was weird. Austin as a heel doesn't really work. Austin as a comedy heel going up against The Rock really doesn't work. Austin doing comedy anything versus The Rock doesn't really work. If you could get all the wrestlers in their prime, which retired company would you give a one-night stand show to? I wouldn't. They had their times at their respective times. That's about it. Thoughts on the Muhammad Hassan character? Great heat magnet. Great, decent character, great magnet for heat, pretty damn good talent in the ring, but it's one of those things again that the politically correct members of society would have eventually come and squashed. Thoughts on the plane ride from hell in 2002? If you don't know what it is, Google it, you'll get a kick out of it. This is apparently, long story short, from what I've heard again, a lot of wrestlers doing a lot of really stupid shit. Somebody apparently propositioned Linda McMahon. Another wrestler propositioned a flight attendant and got the company in a lot of trouble. I think 2 people got fired after this. There was a whole bunch of more rules put in after. I'd have to go back and read the whole story. But, you know, people are idiots, and people being celebrities and public figures while they're being idiots doesn't make it any less bad. Thoughts on the Did You Break the Codes vignette from Jericho's 2007 return? I love Jericho's returns, all of them. The Millennium Countdown, the creepy kids in the classroom, the Break the Code ones. I think Break the Code vignettes were the most obvious, like, yeah, this is Jericho coming back type of things, but they were still good. The Matrix style text going all up and down the screen and having it all look like code. It was an interesting visual effect, and it led into the most recent at the time graphics of his countdown. So they're pretty well done. I liked the Millennium Countdown. I thought the Millennium Countdown was awesome because it was the first time a WWE audience actually saw Jericho, and he got to debut verbally against The Rock. So you can't really ask for much more than that. How do the announcers know that a match won't end during a commercial break? To the best of my knowledge, and I'm not in the business, as Mark Pearson would love to remind you, to the best of my knowledge, all the timing is done through the referee. That's why the referees have the earpieces. The referee relays to the wrestlers when they're going on break, when they're going on break, when they're going back. And the same people that are acknowledging that are giving the announcers the heads up. Hey, we're about to go on break, so, you know, wrap it up and toss out your, hey, we'll be back in a minute, or whatever. So that is all very structured, and it's structured from the back. So if the people in the back are structuring, the commentators, the people in the back are structuring the match itself, the people that are structuring all of that aren't going to let the match end during the commercial break. When they did it one time a few weeks ago, Kofi Kingston beating Cesaro on the break just so that they could have an app exclusive was absolutely ridiculous and unforgivably stupid. But No, they know that the match isn't going to end because it's not how the show is put together. The show is put together a certain way, and the referee is there to relay those times to the wrestlers, and they're not going to end the match until they're told to. Wrestlers, at the end of the day, are all good boys that do as they're told. And that's my limited knowledge of how the show is put together. Best Paul Heyman promo by far is the one that he cut on Vince McMahon before Survivor Series. The big WCW ECW alliance versus the WWE for Ultimate Control. And he gets into the promo and he talks about how Vince took out all his competition and how he's vicious and ruthless and how he hates his guts. And it's not even me. Your own children hate your guts, and I don't blame them. And then eventually, of all people, Taz gets up from the announce table and puts the Taz mission on Paul Heyman. But if you've never seen it, I will say this much. If you've never seen it, go to YouTube, type in something to the effect of Paul Heyman shoots on Vince McMahon. It's a phenomenal promo, and you can tell. There's a lot of stuff that Paul Heyman says just to say it. He says for effect. There's the occasional promo where you really see Paul Heyman speaking from the heart, and this is one of them, and it's fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, excuse me. Do you take the Wrestling Dirt Sheets seriously? I take the Wrestling Dirt Sheets as seriously as I take YouTube. I take them if it's talking about anything coming up in the future. Here is a very detailed layout of what could be coming. Now, would I swear by what I read in the dirt sheets? No. But it's great for conversation. If I hear that Jeff Hardy is coming back to Raw in 2 weeks, now that sparks a lot of interest. Now, whether or not it's actually true or not, if I come up and make a video on here, or I post something on YouTube or Facebook or whatever that says, hey guys, I've heard that Jeff Hardy is coming to WWE in 2 weeks. What do you guys think about this? How good do you think he'll be? You know, who would you love to see him face? I'd love to see him face Kofi Kingston, or I'd love to see him face Daniel Bryan. Even if it's not true, it sparks the creative juices of the IWC and the YWC, and it gets everybody talking. And it helps the company in the sense that even if we are disappointed in the end, and this is where, okay, it kind of doesn't matter whether we're watching for a good reason or a bad reason, and that's not necessarily good, but if you're a fan of Jeff Hardy, if you're somebody that can't stand Jeff Hardy, either way you're going to be tuning in that week on Raw to see if it was true or not. So do I take them as the gospel? Absolutely not. Do I read them? Yes. Do I think they're a very good launching point for conversation and content elsewhere? Yes. There's videos that I've done on this channel based on things that I've read on dirt sheets, and I've never presented them as fact. It's like, hey, I've been reading this. What do you guys think? This is what I think. If this is true, this is what I think, type thing. Like the Rey Mysterio situation right now. I don't have a 100% grasp on the Rey Mysterio situation right now, that he's trying to get out of his contract, WWE's trying to force him to extend it, that he's telling him to fuck off and go to AAA or whatever. I don't know all of it, but I could do a whole video right now on like, hey, if this is true, this is what I think. And I think dirt sheets give us that launching pad. What are some fatal errors that TNA did to lose their TV deal? They didn't push the right people. They pushed characters, but rather than good wrestlers, they depended on too long. They gave Brooke Hogan the job. Dixie Carter is a thing. There's lots of things. What is an underrated title reign in your opinion? People are going to say that I'm crazy, but people underrate CM Punk's title reign. They do. I mean, yes, we acknowledge that it went on for a long time, but I mean, Paul Heyman, CM Punk, the mic work that they did, the build that they did towards good matches that they were having, the whole CM Punk John Cena rivalry was fantastic. The fact that, and here's where I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because I like Brock Lesnar as champion, I hated The Rock as champion, even though I'm a fan of The Rock. The fact that Rock came in for a cup of coffee and he was the one that ended this tremendous long title streak of CM Punk is absolutely disgusting. And the fact that when we think about CM Punk's title reign, we think about how he lost it more than how he held it, more than how he got it, and that's kind of disgusting. Red pill, John Cena never gets another world title. Blue pill... Sorry. Red pill, John Cena gets another world title. Blue pill, Cesaro never gets another push. This is another one. I'm going to go red pill all the way. John Cena gets another title run. It's going to happen anyway. But if you tell me right now that Cesaro is never going to get pushed, negatively affects the future. Similar to the Ambrose question that we saw up above. Thoughts on the WWE YouTube channel? I search it every now and I flip through it every now and then if something catches my eye. I'm subscribed. And WWE channel on YouTube is pretty much a bunch of 2-second interviews and clips and stuff that I guess either didn't make it to Raw or they did, and instead of putting it on Raw, putting it on YouTube. There's no real spark of content, if I can put it that way. Thoughts? What is your opinion of the Bark Like a Dog segment with Trish Stratus and Vince McMahon? At the time, way back when WWE was TV 14 and this was going on, whatever, it was really uncomfortable to watch, I'm not going to lie. But then I heard an interview with Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus was interviewed on the Jim Ross podcast, and he asked her about it. And she kind of laughed about it for a second, and she says, that didn't happen to me. That happened to a character that I played on TV. And it kind of really puts it into perspective. And a lot of people are like, yeah, well, you know, it puts back women's rights and it degrades women and all this other stuff and da-da-da-da. But she says it, and she says it to Jim Ross, and she says it, and I heard it, and I believe it, and I'm passing it on. They didn't do that to Trish Stratus. They did it to her character. It goes back to the, you know, the segment on Raw with Paul Bearer's ashes. You know, Phil Brooks and Mark Calloway were not making fun of William Moody. Yes, CM Punk was the character CM Punk was making fun of a character named William Moody to a character named The Undertaker. Trish Stratus, the person, was never disrespected by Vince McMahon, the person. Trish Stratus, the character, was made to do incredibly horrible and degrading things by Vince McMahon, the character, because that's what the storyline dictated. So, I understand why people are offended by it, but I'm not, and I think people just need to chill a lot on stuff like that. Thoughts on Steve Austin's What Chance and how they affect promos today? I think it provides a good challenge to people that are doing promos today. If somebody is giving a good promo, they don't get the what chance. Nobody whats Paul Heyman. Nobody whats Jericho. Nobody whats CM Punk. They what Randy Orton, who I'm a fan of, but he's not great on the mic, even I'll admit that. They what John Cena. It's a message. It is a very clear message. If we're engrossed in what you're saying, we're not going to be thinking about how to cut you off. If we're thinking about how to cut you off, we are not obviously entrenched in what you're saying. So they say that the what chants ruin superstars' ability to cut promos. It's like, no, the superstars' lack of ability to cut promos is what promotes the what chants. And that's my thought on that. What movie would you remake for The Rock to star in? Ooh. I really don't know. Where does The Rock rank in the greatest of all time? In the ring? No. As an entertainer, as a character, as a sports entertainer, as a charismatic guy that held the crowd in the palm of his hand? Oh, top 5. Easily. As far as an in-ring competitor, performer, like wrestler, maybe top 20. Entertainer, top 5. Where does the would he be greater if he hadn't left in 2004? No, I think we'd be sick of him. I think he would be where Cena is right now if he hadn't left. Because you'd only be the out there, funny, cocky, superstar, head of the company guy for so long without somebody hating you. I mean, look at how people treat Triple H. Look at how people, including myself, treat John Cena. If The Rock was still there, if The Rock hadn't left in 2004, I'd like to think he would have left by now, is another way I could say it. How would Edge fit in if he hadn't retired in 2011 due to his neck? Honestly, at this point, with a couple world titles on his belt, I'd like to see him go the Jericho route. I'd love to see him putting over some younger guys, putting over some guys that really need some help and a legitimate feud to get noticed. I'd love to see Edge work with somebody like Bray Wyatt. I would love to see Edge work with somebody like Dean Ambrose or Seth Rollins. I mean, I'm not going to say the obvious one. Let's have the Battle of the Spears between Roman Reigns and Edge, even though my buddy James, I'm sure, would, you know, go apoplectic if that happened, but he'd be giving back at this point if he was still able to wrestle. What would happen if John Cena hater jumped the rail and attacked him? He'd get cheered and then he'd get arrested. Because whether or not it's okay to jump a wrestler isn't based on whether we like them or not. The crowd would cheer and he would get arrested. What would you prefer, Money in the Bank or a Royal Rumble win for Chris Jericho? Depends if he's face or heel. Rumble wins are made for baby faces. Money in the Bank wins are made for heels, by the way that they're executed. Royal Rumble sets you on a story towards WrestleMania. Your opponent knows what's coming. You build it up, and you have a face-to-face, one-on-one confrontation. Money in the Bank, you sneak up on somebody when they least expect it, when they're the least prepared, and you sneak away with the title. And seeing as Jericho is one of those guys that can be face or heel, it would really depend if he was being face or heel. Before every pay-per-view, can you and OKFabe do a preview and predictions? You guys were hilarious. Now, I've mentioned this in the last video, and I'm saying it again now. This I have passed on to Connor. It is entirely in his wheelhouse right now as to whether or not this happens. So, Connor, the public has spoken. The offer is on the table, and we're waiting for a response. That all was from the Zohan, and holy Christ, dude, you ask a lot of questions. Cheney 815 says, so your name is Colin, eh? Well, I guess it's a better name than Cheney. Trust me on that one. Oh, and it's also better than Ashton. Yes, I went there. You missed this question last time, so I'll ask you again. Do you think the game developers should have held off on the 30 years of WrestleMania storyline until WrestleMania 30 had passed and kept on with the Attitude Era mode? I don't think that the games need themes necessarily. I think historically we need to bring in things that have happened and things that change up the gameplay. Stars from the past, stars from the present, stars from NXT, different matches, different scenarios, all that sort of thing. But I don't think it needs to reflect a specific time, a specific place, and I don't think you know, one was WrestleMania focused, one was Attitude Era focused, and I don't think it needs to be that focused. I think you need to have your career mode, your created mode, your exhibition modes, and like I say, most of the fun you have in a wrestling game is with those creation functions. So I don't think it really matters either way. Is it just me, or does Starluck look a gigantic can of Rockstar with Sith Lord eyes? Yes, and his font as he comes out, the stuff that's written on the Titantron also looks like the font from a can of Rockstar. Thoughts on the Finlay versus Lashley feud in 2006? Really, really weak. Do you think the Nexus storyline should have applied to both shows rather than just Raw in 2010? I think it was okay that it didn't apply to SmackDown. You take a look like the NWO in WCW, where the NWO's invasion was all-encompassing. On Raw, there was a lot of weeks where the Nexus was all-encompassing. You had SmackDown where you could see other things happening, and it wasn't so saturated. So I think that was a good move on their part. Personally, I'm kind of on the fence about the reasoning behind Rey Mysterio's world title victory at WrestleMania 22. However, I thought it was a good run. That being said, do you think his second world title victory in 2010 was considered more honest and believable, or anything else in that realm? The WrestleMania 22 victory is always going to have that stigma on it that he won the title because Eddie died. And that's unfortunate, but it's always going to be there. If you're going to ask me about a realistic or believable World Heavyweight Championship run for Rey Mysterio, let me just say once again, World Heavyweight Champion. Rey Mysterio, World Heavyweight Champion. Even Brock Lesnar right now is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So if Rey Mysterio comes back and beats Brock Lesnar and becomes the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, it's still going to be unrealistic. It was unrealistic then. It was unrealistic the first time. Sorry. Rey Mysterio is way overhyped in the WWE. It really is true. If we had a cruiserweight division, he would be the king of it. But we don't. So he's a man without an island. He's a man without a championship, I guess. I guarantee you, all the matches they put him up against bigger guys for is at least 50% of the reason why he's so injury prone now. I'm just saying. Let's say for all intents and purposes that Cena versus Hogan does happen. Oh dear God, what crazy stipulation would you add to it? First person to sell a move from his opponent wins. Oh yes. Would you rather execute a shooting... Oh, Jesus Christ, you want to kill me. Would you rather execute a shooting star press onto a pair of stacked flaming tables or a moonsault onto a pile of thumbtacks? Well, that depends, because they're both airborne moves, so I'll ask all of you out there, would you rather see me burned alive or impaled? It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. If you learn how to land on the tacks, if you can learn how to land on the tacks, then fine. If you learn how to take a table bump properly, like apparently Dixie Carter did, then fine. You're not going to convince me ever that you learned how to land in fire. It is what it is. What are your favorite TV shows, past or present? What I'm watching right now. Walking Dead. I just tonight watched the series finale of True Blood. I'm going to watch Gotham when it starts. There's going to be a spin-off of The Walking Dead starting soon. Obviously a lot of wrestling. Family Guy, South Park when I can find it, American Dad. I watch a couple of old sitcoms, like I watch reruns of Seinfeld and Friends and stuff like that, but anything with an alien or a zombie or something violent or cool in it is what I watch. If you saw my movie collection, you would probably want to send me to a therapist. But as for what I watch on TV, zombies, monsters, cops, fighting, fucked up shit. Do you watch videos from Good Mic Work? No, I've heard the name, but I don't believe I've ever actually gotten around to that. So I will, and I'll let you know what I think. Job 2 team with or Barry? Get a towel for this one, he says in brackets. Caitlyn, Mickie James, or Candice Michelle? I would bury Candice Michelle because she was useless. I would team with Mickie James because she's pretty fantastic in the ring. And I would job to Caitlyn because that would mean Caitlyn would be on top of me. And oh yes. This has been in my head for a while now, but do you think Daniel Bryan going over at WrestleMania 30 has anything to do with the Undertaker's streak ending? I absolutely enjoyed Daniel Bryan being triumphant, but I would be able to live if that wasn't the case, knowing that the streak remained intact. And if Bray Wyatt went over too, but that's another topic for another time. Haha. Sorry if this is long. Thanks for reading as always. I'm pretty sure with Daniel Bryan being as high up as he was, I have spent a lot of time putting down Daniel Bryan in the way he was used this year, and I stand by that. But I will say he was pretty high on the hog as far as just the way the crowd saw him and the way they were behind him and the way his win at WrestleMania was going to be fantastic and big and huge. I think because of that, they figured it was a safe year to end the streak, if that makes any sense. On a previous pay-per-view with a weaker card and not so strong a main event, maybe, I think they would have been a lot more nervous to end the streak because they knew the backlash that was going to happen. So I think with how I don't know how to say this, with how much the crowd was behind Daniel Bryan and how much they were going to celebrate his victory, I think the best way to say it is they thought it would be safe to end the streak this year. They were wrong, but whatever. Anyways, thanks for that, Cheney. Going on. Michael S. Chances of a Brock Lesnar versus Cesaro match this year, and how would you book it? I would have booked it as Cesaro still being a Heyman guy and being neglected because, you know, the other Heyman guy, the bigger, badder, more successful Heyman guy was there. Him getting really resentful, being treated like a second-class star, and eventually striking out at Lesnar, breaking away from Heyman and having a match with Lesnar. I don't think it's going to happen with the way he's kind of fallen from grace recently. Do you think WWE will stick with Stardust or turn him heel and then turn him back babyface again? For a long time, people wanted to see Goldust versus Cody Rhodes, but with the immersion of the Stardust character, I think WWE creative as well as the fans are having a lot of fun with them as sort of a matching tandem. I now would not mind them going for another year or so as a team they're going to carry Gold at some point. Let them carry the title for a little bit, hand him off, and then maybe after that have like a Dust versus Dust thing, you know, face paint match or something. But I don't think either one of them has to really turn. I just think they have to continue being weird and start being weird to each other. Who's better on the mic, Stone Cold, The Rock, or CM Punk? And here's where the entire IWC, YWC shits on my head. CM Punk. Which match would you want to see more and why? Sting versus Bray Wyatt, Sting versus Bray Wyatt, or Randy Orton versus Stone Cold versus CM Punk. Sting versus Bray Wyatt would be interesting promo-wise. I don't know how it would look in the ring. I really don't, because they're so different, and Sting is getting up there, and Bray Wyatt is still kind of new, so those two things. Randy Orton versus Stone Cold versus CM Punk. We all know the physical limitations of Stone Cold Steve Austin these days. Randy Orton's pacing is boring to some, and CM Punk, for the majority, would be carrying the match. So, I don't know. People would be unexcited to see Randy Orton. People would be super excited to see Stone Cold. And lost in that shuffle would be CM Punk carrying the match, which would be an interesting dynamic to watch, but I don't know if I want to see it. The more and more I think about it, it's kind of like the Sting-Undertaker thing, but the more and more I think of that possible Stone Cold versus CM Punk match that people were fantasizing about for a couple of years, I really don't know how good a match it would have been. If that makes me a bad guy, if that makes me disrespectful to the past or to Austin or whatever, I just don't. Which former diva would you like to see return? Caitlyn, Maurice, Mickie James, Lita, or Trish Stratus? Okay, Maurice is useless. Trish Stratus is off doing her own thing now. Mickie James would be fun. Lita is my favorite diva of all time. And Caitlyn never really got a good, solid chance to do anything in the WWE. So it kind of comes down between Lita and Caitlyn. Caitlyn has left so recently that they could play it off as, oh, she was injured for a while and now she's back. And it wouldn't even seem like a big, oh, excuse me guys, return. Lita coming back and making a return would have the most impact on the Divas division right now. I'll tell you that much for sure. Is it just me, or is the worst ending to a match a roll-up pin? Yes, because it seems to always cut the match short, unless you're somebody that is advertised and pushed, etc., as somebody that's smart, as somebody that always counters your opponent. Because a roll-up is a great counter. He tried to get me up into his finisher, I countered him into a roll-up and got a quick win. I can speak, I swear, we haven't had that one in a while. I rolled you out of your own finishing move into a pin and I got the win and you didn't see it coming. If it's that kind of presentation, then yes. If it's just genuinely your way to end the match, then yes, I agree. It's really, really lame. Better theme song: CM Punk, Cult of Personality, Miz, I Came to Play, Randy Orton voices, Bray Wyatt, or John Cena, Basic Thuganomics. Now, I'm assuming you're meaning who... I don't know what you mean by best in this. Like, which song do I enjoy more? Or which one do I think suits the wrestler more? As far as suiting the wrestler more, Bray Wyatt, by a long shot. As far as something fitting, I think I Came to Play suits the Miz. Miz being the obnoxiously arrogant character that he is. And if you ever actually... Because I do, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, I do have I Came to Play on my iPad. Yes, or sorry, on my iPhone. And it's a fun little song to listen to, but if you listen to the lyrics are arrogant as fuck. And it fits the Miz so well. It really, really does. So as far as on their own, the Bray Wyatt intro, the Bray Wyatt music entrance, the entire presentation is great. As far as a song fitting the wrestler, it's got to be the Miz. Now I open the floodgates for the people that are going to say that I only said that because Miz is my boy, but whatever. Which is the best live performed entrance at WrestleMania? A lot of people might disagree with this. I think Limp Bizkit playing Undertaker to the ring at WrestleMania 23? No. 19. WrestleMania 19. Unfortunately, that was not one of the Undertaker's better matches, going up against, I believe it was Big Show and A-Train, which was a really lame match. But the entrance was nice. Fred Durst in the ring with Taker, you know, high-fiving, slapping each other on the back and whatever. It was a really cool moment. Do you have any wrestling shirts? Which ones and why? I have a lot of wrestling shirts. I'm actually, ironically, not wearing one today. It's a Walking Dead shirt today. I have a lot of CM Punk shirts. I have a CM Punk hoodie. I have a Christian shirt from TNA. I have a Jeff Hardy shirt from TNA. I have the Edge retirement shirt, the Done It All, Won It All. I have a lot of shirts. I have 2 Randy Orton shirts. I have a Triple H shirt. I have a couple different Jericho shirts. I have the most recent Jericho shirt, the one of him, the one that's all blue with him in the jacket and whatnot. I have a lot of wrestling shirts. I don't really want to... I've never been the type of person to come up on here and do, like, the unbagging videos and whatever, but if you guys genuinely want to, I will do some sort of small video add-on to one of my videos. Just, hey, these are all the t-shirts I have or whatever. I never really thought that would be something you guys would want to see, so I haven't done it, but if it is, if I'm wrong, if it is something you want to see, put it in the box below. I'll add it on to my next Raw review or something like that. Moving on, Logan Claiborne. I liked your idea for the Rollins cash-in on Reigns at WrestleMania after Reigns beats Lesnar, but I would have Roman Reigns remain the champion until Extreme Rules, beat Lesnar again and in a rematch, and after get destroyed by the Authority and let Rollins cash in. I like the idea. Because right now, the big thing in the YWC is Reigns beating Lesnar at WrestleMania, and a lot of other people don't like it. It would make Reigns seem like a fluke, etc. If we did what you're saying here, Roman Reigns could go in, beat him at WrestleMania, and then go on to a much more brutal match at Extreme Rules, probably like a last man standing or an I Quit or whatever, and really, really prove his mettle and prove that he wasn't a fluke. And then after he's proved himself and the crowd does get a chance to legitimately get behind him, to then be beat down by the Authority and then let Rollins cash in, yeah, I think that is a brilliant extension to what I said in my last video, and yeah, I'll take it to heart. Save Yourself 777 Productions, aka Salvador from PWITOF, who does all my graphics for this channel. Thank you very much. I'm only 5 minutes in, but I gotta say thank you for your opinion on Lana. I thought I was the only one that didn't think she was all that sexy by any means, but I never noticed her dudish jawline until you pointed it out. I don't really know how that's a question. Lana has a jaw like a dude. Just putting it out there. And the last one for August to wrap it up, because it is, once again, ridiculous o'clock in the morning. Laurel Lewis, thanks for answering all our questions, Baz. I always like listening to your answers. And by the way, the weather here in Scotland Neck, North Carolina is beautiful today. Well, thank you. I think we can all go to bed tonight with smiles on our faces, knowing that the weather over Laurel's head in Scotland Neck, North Carolina is beautiful today. that's wonderful. It's a very anticlimactic way for me to end the Q&A, is it not? Anyways, all of you guys are great. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for continuing to make Ask the Phoenix such a great thing. Put your questions down in the box for the next Q&A next month, and we will do this all over again. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger, I'll talk to each and every last one of you, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.